Ska jag kolla på det så länge då? Morg official.
Greetings.
Eller ganska nådes.
Greeting.
The real purpose.
Today we're talking about the real reason that Freemasons keep secret.
Freemason, okej. Det är något sånt där. God is an alien. Ja, det makes sense.
God.
It makes sense. Det är det.
God is an alien. That's exactly what the secret gospel of the Egyptians reveals. This secret gospel was banned by the church, and anyone caught with it was put to death. This banned knowledge is exactly what could...
I need something even more whack. Something
What
more.
if God is actually the devil?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Foundations of Christianity.
Everybody are figuring that out. Vad mer då? Since I special awakening. See vad mer. See if somebody's written something. No. Banned book, secret page of missing page revealed. The truth about the apocalypse, you need to prepare now. Hey Ava. Yes, it's a very interesting channel. I recommend it. It's called Morg Official. Is some androgynous looking, occult guy who talks about the lies of religion and exposes a lot of things about the world and incredible revelations, like the leaked documents from leaked documents from CIA, from what they know about reality. He talks about that stuff and a lot of interesting stuff, like how reality is, basically, according to secret powers that have knowledge more than the average human about reality and stuff. So he talks about a lot of fascinating stuff, really. Videos about everything from Christ and Lucifer, and connecting the same being as the one, being the same and stuff. I already knew that Lucifer and Christ was the same. I've been studying very much the meaning of Christ and Lucifer from almost a decade back, actually. I've seen every parallel. So he has found evidence of it in the Bible, actually, all Bibles, with edited away stuff, mentioning this was Christ that gave the apple, to Adam and Eve in Eden, and it's Christ himself that wants to overtake God, throw down the corrupt ruler, the demiurge, in case you know the term. It's actually... I knew it all along, I had a hunch, both are the morning star, the lights of the world. Both call themselves the light of the world, and they want to make humans ascend into godhood and become gods themselves. It's basically the one and the same. So this guy talks about that stuff. It got me hooked, and he's super smart and good looking too, to look at. So it's, good channel, recommend it. Yeah, how are you, by the way? The truth about God revealed in missing CIA page. I'm going to watch that.
Peggy 18. We were all trapped in all
It's funny because the CIA documents actually confirmed God, but it's not what we think it is. It's more like I've always suspected that the universe is self-aware, or not self-aware in that sense that it's really self-aware, but it's kind of becoming self-aware by us, and we are actually the dreams conjured by the creator, the universe, which is an absolute energy force that's been around for before time, before the universe, probably, you know, some kind of, I don't know what it is really, but they mention it as an absolute, and the absolute is dreaming about itself in miniature fractions, and every fraction is actually itself. So that confirms that the more awake you are as a person, the more in tune you are with the absolute, and the more divine you are becoming. So the more awake you are and enlightened, the more you are becoming like the absolute, like God. According to the CIA, you know, the documents they unleashed, we are actually, you know, creators and created at the same time. I've already, you know, figured it out a long time ago, but it's funny to see that even, you know, such an organization like that have knowledge the average person doesn't have about reality and science, experiments and stuff that, you know, incredible stuff.
Religion all reflect an underlying truth. What is it? What is God? That's what we're taking a look at today as we explore missing page 25 of the CIA declassified document, the Gateway Process, and what it says about God and religion. Now, before we begin, I just want to say, as always, please like and subscribe. And if you enjoy my work, support over on Patreon. It's the best way to support. You get access to all our members-only videos. We have a members-only video every single week, a new one every single week. And we talk a lot about a lot of interesting stuff there. You can get access to that by joining on Patreon or tier 2 or higher on YouTube. You can join button right below this video. Also, watch out for scams. There's a lot of scams going on in the comments. People pretending to be me, saying, join my WhatsApp, join my Telegram, whatever.
I can't see any
That's a scam. That's not me. And also, be on the lookout. There's a lot of people and groups out there spreading misinformation and disinformation about me, our movement, and what we're doing, because they don't want this information to get out here. So don't fall for it. Be smart. All right, here we go. So we're going to start right away. If you haven't seen the other videos on this declassified document, don't worry. You don't have to make sense of what we're talking about today.
I actually downloaded the declassified documents.
We're going to start on,
I have it on my computer.
Page 25.
I have it's like 9,000 plus documents. They confirm everything from aliens to UFOs to ghost hunter teams, agent and hunts, paranormal stuff, psychic powers, other dimensions, and now apparently even God and stuff. So it's like the most amazing stuff, but nobody takes the time to read it or watch it or nothing because, well, the mainstream media doesn't mention it, so people don't care. But I was smart enough to download it from their own site. It's free to download, actually. I read a lot of stuff. It's like candy, you know, Christmas time for me. They confirm everything I knew, you know, like the tinfoil hat,
Is there some sort of
It's like
relation?
tinfoil
Is there
hat
some sort of correlation between this idea of
Christmas,
reality
basically.
being an internally projected hologram that is exploring itself?
It's from
and
themselves,
must
you know, so it's not a hoax.
transformations
It's actually
and
from
all
themselves, the
consciousness? Is there some
documents.
sort of
Anybody
relation
can
to
download it.
God? Is there some sort of relation to religion and what it's saying? So that's what we're exploring right here, and we're going to see what it says, and then where it cuts out, and then what missing page 25 has to say. So, in 1967, Alexandra David Neal and Lama Yangden wrote a book entitled Secret Oral Teachings in Tibetan Buddhist Sects, from which the following quote is taken. Quote, "The tangible world is movement, say the masters, not a collection of moving objects, but movement itself. There are no objects in movement. It is the movement which constitutes the objects which appear to us. They are nothing but movement. This movement is a continued and infinitely rapid succession of flashes of energy, in Tibetan Tsal or Shuth, all objects perceptible to our senses.
What the
all
fuck is he
phenomena
talking about?
of
I haven't
whatever
listened
kind
okay,
and whatever
really well.
aspect they assume are constituted by rapid succession of instantaneous events."
Yes?
Okay. So first of all, the reason why they're talking about this is because they're trying to relate the ontology of existence, or what existence actually is, underneath physical reality, to what's been said in the past in religions, in Tibetan Buddhism, what the masters have said, etc. So let's take a look at this real quick. So what are they saying? They are saying that the masters say that everything that is experienced is movement.
Movement, yeah.
Objects aren't in movement, but rather objects are movement itself, or arise from movement itself. So is this
Oh,
true?
you're
Well,
right.
let's
That's
just
cool.
take a little
I'm glad you
break
like
from
it.
that and explain this idea. So is it true that reality is just movement? Yes and no. So what is existence? We understand existence to be reason itself, or rather a logical code, or you can understand it in terms of mathematics. You can say that this is a mathematical reality. But diving even deeper into it, this is a rational reality, or a system of reason, and we can understand this mathematically. Okay? So what does it mean by saying, so basically what reality is all rational possibilities that are compatible with each other. I don't want to talk too much about this because I could talk for an hour about it, and I have before. I have a video on it called The Answer to the Greatest Philosophical Question of All Time. Check that out if you want to know more about what I'm about to say. But anyway, we understand reality to be a system of reason exploring itself, or you can understand it as a system of mathematical energy exploring its various transformations. So, is this movement? You can also understand it like information. So, let me explain. Remember, reality is this very interesting setup where it seems like contradictions, but they aren't actually contradictions. They are just opposites that exist together in unity. For example, reality is both one and many. Reality is one because it's one mind and one system, and it has the capacity for multiplicity, it has the capacity for unity, but it's one system that explores itself in its multiplicity. So it's both one and many. One and many. One system exploring itself in multiplicity. One
Yes,
so it
yes.
would seem like a contradiction to say reality is both one and many, but it isn't actually when you think about it. Kind of like
Makes sense.
0 is equal to 1 and minus 1. 1 and minus 1 aren't contradictions. They're opposites that exist in a logical unity. So see the important difference between contradictions. True logical contradictions are impossibilities and don't exist. But unities that exist in, or opposites that exist in a logical unity are possible.
Okay, yeah. Get to something more interesting, yeah. I get bored when I start talking about mathematics and shit.
I hate mathematics. Bores me.
And arriving at another area. Well, immediately when you have something leave one area and arrive at another area, you're going to get extension. You're getting extension introduced into the system because of the system's capacity for motion, leaving one area and arriving at another area, you're going to get extension. So this is basically how
I can't see no
will
comments.
give rise to the idea of extension. So Is everything motion? Now it really gets down to the point of what do you define as motion? There are extended objects. Extended objects exist.
It's so
Extended
zoomed up on my
objects exist
face all the time.
logically
I hate it.
because of the possibility of motion. So anyway, we could split hairs all day and talk about it. It would be really fun to do that, but I know probably a lot of you don't want to hear me talk about motion all day.
Have you heard of object-oriented ontology theory? Basically, the main idea of the theory is the idea that the universe exists.
Different masters have said of reality being.
I've heard of it, but I haven't really gotten into it, you know.
Is very close to the truth.
I haven't really gotten deep
and
into
you
it,
could say it is true,
but I've heard the name,
at that
theory
point we
before.
get into a semantic debate. But you can see it's at least very close to truth. So continuing here, it says, the classic description of the universal hologram is to be found in a Hindu sutra. See, now this is really cool.
Hindu
So you see
sutra.
how this section of the CIA declassified document on the gateway process is showing how everything that has been discussed, such as reality being an internal mental hologram, different levels of consciousness that one can tune to, the parts of this has been discussed in religion. And so they're talking here that the classic description of the universal hologram is to be found in the Hindu Sutra, which says, and quote, in the heaven of Indra.
So there might be questions I might have about our universe, but will never be answered since it doesn't really know about this.
So arranged.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think it will never be answered.
Reflected in it. So there's this thing called Indra's net, and it says in the heaven.
I don't think we're meant to figure it out, to be honest.
So arranged that if you look at one, you see all
So
the
we will just have theories and theories for ages to come. And even when humanity is like most transcendental possible
So for those who don't know, we have a transmission
compared to us, now maybe we're divine in comparison in the future. But still we will have more answers and more questions, you know, constantly. I think we're supposed to know the truth about the reality, to be honest. We're not supposed to know.
If you were to take that hologram and cut it in half, the entire hologram would still be preserved. So you'd have two pieces, right? Well, if this were just a normal photograph, well, you'd have the front half of the car here and the back half of the car here. That's not the case with the hologram. If you look through this half, you'll still see the whole car. And if you look through this half, you'll still see the whole car. So what this means is that every part contains the whole. So the holographic principle, and understanding, well, one of the holographic principles, one of the features of a hologram is that every part contains the whole. So, and this has to do with us as well. You can kind of have the idea of as above, so below. Not exactly the same as above, so below, but you can at least get the idea that we as eternal minds contain the information of the universe within us, and so do all of us, because we're all complete sets of mathematics. So kind of like, basically, since we're all mathematical entities, we all contain every number. So I contain every number as different types of frequencies. You contain every number as different types of frequencies, etc. Each one of us contains all. We're all complete. But anyway, you can see this hologram property of the every piece containing the whole being reflected in this Hindu sutra, which talks about a network of pearls. And if you look at one, you see the reflection of all the others. This is what they're getting at. They're making comparisons here to religion, to what we have come to understand about reality. So we're getting to the end of page 24 here, then we're going to get to the missing page 25. And let's go a little faster. I know I want to say so many more things. I could talk to you about Greek philosophers that also had this idea and their ontologies, but let's not do that. Let's move on. I have cited this quotation because it shows that the concept of the universe, which at least some physicists are now coming to accept, is identical in its essential aspects with the one known to the learned elite in selected civilizations and cultures of high attainment in the ancient world. In other words, those who were privy to very high teachings in the ancient world understood the information that physicists are beginning to understand now, but not in the same way, of course, in a different way. But still reflecting the same general principle or idea. So the concept of the cosmic egg, for example, is well known to scholars familiar with the ancient writings of the Eastern religions. Also, you can find the cosmic egg in the West as well, in the Orphics, the Greek Orphics. Nor are the theories presented in this paper at variance with the essential tenets of the Judeo-Christian stream of thought. Real quick, what is the cosmic egg? The cosmic egg is thought of to be basically the birthplace of all reality, that all of reality springs forth from the cosmic egg. Well, what's the cosmic egg? The singularity, the Big Bang singularity. All reality contained in potentiality in a single point, and then springs forth into actuality. So just like an egg contains the potentiality to become a chicken, the potentiality, the information of the chicken is contained within the egg. So the entire universe, and you, me, and everything is contained as potentiality within the cosmic egg of the singularity. So you've seen how the different references to these mystical traditions and ancient traditions are lining up with everything we know about reality, cosmic egg, internet, energy and motion.
Makes sense.
I'm glad you're on this case with me, Anderson. Killer left it.
The concept of visible reality, that is the created world, as being an emanation of an omnipotent and omniscient deity who is completely unknowable in his primary state of being. Now, I'm going to have some contention about this, but let me just read it first.
This is amazing because it's actually
So, the
classified documents that they talk about this thing, you know.
concept straight out of the Hebrew mystical philosophy. Okay, so what are they talking about here? They're talking about Kabbalah. So the absolute at rest in infinity is what we call the source. And the source is the realm of pure frequency, and you can think of it as the realm of pure light. In Gnosticism, this would be known as the pleroma. For those, who have
pure light.
meditative experiences or psychedelic experiences, remember, don't do anything dangerous or illegal. You can, or near-death experiences, don't do anything dangerous or illegal. You can have, people have experienced the pure white light, which I have experienced as well. I have experienced the pure white light of the source. So the absolute at rest in infinity is a concept straight out of the Hebrew mystical philosophy. So you see this in the pleroma. In Hebrew mystical philosophy, they're talking about Kabbalah, specifically Ein Sof. So Ein Sof is known as
The Kabbalah, yeah.
Basically, Ein Sof is the endless nothingness, the nothing, the infinite nothingness.
You get a lot
Nothingness
of
is
secrets and
nothingness
reality
is
about
endless,
if
which
you
is,
study it.
this light that produces everything. From that you get Keter, and then all the different Sephirot on the tree of life, all the way down.
Something went wrong, of course.
Which is physical reality.
They don't want me to talk about stuff like this, yeah? Of course it went wrong when I said the name.
So they're basically, again, making connections to all these different
Not to you, Ava,
philosophies and teachings,
but to the powers that be.
we're coming to know and understand about reality. So even the Christian concept of the Trinity shines through the description of the
I want people to
absolute as
stay
presented in
asleep.
this paper. The description of energy, totality at rest, and infinity fits the Christian metaphysical concept of the Father, while the infinite self-consciousness resident in the energy providing the motive force of will to bring a portion of that energy into motion to create a reality corresponds with the Son. This is so because in order to attain self-consciousness, the consciousness of the Absolute must project a hologram of itself and then perceive it. This is so damn important. We need to talk about this. Okay, I need to see how much time we have to get through today's topic. But we need to talk about this stuff. And you know what? We're going to talk about it. Okay, so first of all, real quick, what I want to say, first of all, when it comes to this fits in with Christianity, it fits in with a mystical interpretation of Christianity. It doesn't fit in with the Christianity that you're going to find when you go to church on Sunday. They believe that God is a man with a beard in the sky who created the world in 7 days. And they believe Jesus is his son, came to earth and turned water into wine, made people rise from the dead, died on a cross, and came back to life in 3 days. And they believe the Holy Spirit is the helper that enters your body when you accept Jesus into your heart, that has nothing to do with reality. So that's completely divorced from reality. So this is really important. When it says that like all religions reflect an underlying truth, wrong. It depends on the interpretation of that religion. If you're taking a literalist interpretation of that religion, no. Literalist Christianity has nothing to do with reality. It's the furthest away from reality you can possibly get. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
yes, if you take a mystical interpretation of Christianity, or like Gnosticism, which talks about the divine mind emanating the pleroma, which emanates the material world, and thus being divine sparks going through self-knowledge to return to the pleroma, etc. This contains elements of truth to it in a symbolic and metaphorical way. So I want to point that out and make it really, really clear, because religion has done untold damage to this world, and we don't want to let it off the hook and be like, oh, well, religion's just great, and it's known the truth all along. No, religion has been used as a form of manipulation and control and war and violence for many years, thousands and thousands of years. So mainstream religion is terrible and has stopped humanity from attaining knowledge and enlightenment. But if you have a mystical interpretation, like Kabbalah is a mystical interpretation, Gnosticism is a mystical interpretation, there are elements of truth
Yeah,
to it
he's right about that.
if you understand it in a symbolic way. Because again, even if you understand it in a literal way, it's still not truth. You know, Gnosticism talks about Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, and the archons who created the world to trap you. No, there is not actually archons out there trapping you here. Archons represent aspects of the mind, aspects of your unconscious that you need to overcome to attain true knowledge of the self. So it's all metaphorical. So if you're understanding these things as metaphorical, you know, like the cosmic egg is not a literal egg. If you understand these things as metaphorical and symbolic, okay, that's another story. So take Hegel's interpretation of Christianity. Hegel considered himself a Christian, but a completely different type of Christian than you would find on the street, you know, or at church on Sunday. So Hegel looked at God the Father as being the idea, in other words, kind of like the metaphysical framework of existence. And then the Son was the metaphysical framework of existence embodying itself in earth through the form of a human being. In other words, you can think of God as being like a code, and then the Son is like a video game character in that code, allowing the code to explore itself. Okay? So you think of God like the code in terms of Hegelianism, and then the in-game avatar would be the Son, which is what allows the code to experience its own dream
Yeah,
world,
that makes
like
sense.
itself within the dream world. That's why you call Jesus Christ God in man, and man in, you know, the Son of Man, the Son of God, because it's
So we are all God, basically.
But some people don't understand it. They believe in another, give away their power. They don't understand that they are God incarnate, experiencing itself on earth, in this universe, and being basically projected by God into this reality. The creating force, he's talking about the absolute, that frequency, that light that existed, that was the Big Bang earlier. It's experiencing itself through us, it's experiencing itself in every possible way it can. So each and every one of us is basically that light, that God. But people are stupid and dumb as fuck. They serve other. They are like mindless robots. They don't understand their divinity. So like go to work, sleep, fornicate, eat, just repeat. They don't have a purpose like NPCs in video games. Just repeat, repeat.
Christ is both God
Never
and man.
question
So
anything.
are all of us. We're
That's
both
why I
God,
hate people.
humans, and that we are expressions that are exploring itself through ourselves. We generated this reality, and now we're exploring this reality through these physical avatars. So we are all Christs.
Yeah, we're all Christ.
Now,
We're all
the Holy
gods.
Spirit in terms of Hegelianism, and the Holy Spirit in terms of Hegelianism is collective consciousness. So collective consciousness.
And the more you get awoke, awaken, in that energy, that God energy, the more God-like you become, like their source. So basically, everyone is the source, the creator. But some are stronger creators. Some are more like God, even like evolved versions, because they have actually practiced and getting ascended in that sense. So yeah, everyone is like a fragment of the creator according to these documents, but not everyone is aware of it. So they're like weak versions, inferior versions, you know. Of course, there are stronger versions, like aliens and stuff, you know, interdimensionals. They are way more powerful creators, in tune with the creating absolute, like the creative force, you know, the absolute. So just because we understand this shit doesn't mean we are powerful enough to open up portals to other realities with our minds and just become invulnerable to bullets and stop a meteor. We just like anime, you know. That's possible if you're like an advanced race that's been practicing and evolving for thousands of years in these knowledges that are just now surfacing. It's possible. You can get that powerful. You can be that powerful that you can actually stop a meteor, you know, with your yes, with your thought, you know, from hitting a planet. But we're far from that level of being godlike. We're just starting to understand we can't be the god ourselves. So other races probably understood it myriads of years ago. So that's why humans are so stupid, easy to control at the moment, fall for everything, still war with each other, you know, trying to, I'm so lost all faith in humans, to be honest.
Inserting itself as a video game character or its dream world. That's what it's saying would be absolute.
I've always been intrigued by the idea that we're just the universe expressing itself. You are bright, Eva. I knew it. You have everything, like I said many times on the live streams when we've been talking. We've been brought together here by synchronicity, by the creator trying to experience itself, by by reflecting itself on other reflections to create this, you know. That's so interesting, you know. It's been the same for me with that idea that the universe is experiencing itself. It's actually the closest thing to truth possible. Lately I've been seeing, you know, the digits, sacred geometry, 33 and everything. It's basically the absolute truth. You're in tune with the universe, the highest truth, you know. So I'm on the path of divine truth, absolute truth, the absolute truth. Everything I do now points me towards the absolute truth.
But it's not actually other, it's itself. It just doesn't realize that it is itself. So
this explains why it's so funny, you know, the synchronicity I've been experiencing lately. It's been just insane, you know. Like first I'm Lucifer. I look just like the Lucifer depiction on that song with Enomine. Then I'm Christ. I'm fucking Christ. I look just like Christ with a beard. And then I'm Yuha from Bleach. Yuha, you know, in Bleach, in anime, manga, is supposed to be like God or Jesus or Lucifer, or since both basically are the same according to a lot of people, including myself. So my daughter saw me watching Bleach the other day, you know, when she was here. And I was watching an AMV with Yuha because I like the character, he's badass, he's pure evil, but I like him. I like his design and how he talks, and his powers are completely OP. So my daughter was watching and she said, "Dad, did they make a cartoon with you with a mustache?" I'm like, "No, it's not me." "But sure, Dad, it's not you. Who is it then?" She asked me. I said, "It's supposed to be like God, you know, the closest thing to God." And then she went silent for a moment and like, "Oh my God, my dad is God," she screamed. I was just, what the fuck is this shit? I'm not God, but yeah, I look like that guy, you know. I look just like you, Habach, when I have a mustache. I can show you a merch, can make a post about it later. I'm Yuhabah, I'm Christ, and I'm also Lucifer, according to the universe. So the universe is telling me a lot of stuff now, like reflecting itself, experiencing itself by me, by other people, like telling stuff, like so funny. Even my ex-wife saw Yuhabah once on the manga, when I was living with her. I actually had a mustache once, like that went down like this. My hair was long and black, really long, like the wig now. And she said, like, just joking when she went by the computer screen when I was reading the manga online. And she said, yeah, honey, is that you? Why are you in a Japanese cartoon? She said, laughing. I went like, what the fuck, Why does that dude look like me? I even have the same hairstyle, like short hair here and much longer in the back,
Exactly what's happening here, and that's what we're doing right now. Remember, don't think of it as this thing other than us. It's you. It said the absolute must project itself and then perceive itself.
Yeah, the absolute must project itself as.
But we must project ourselves. You're doing this right now. Like me talking to you, you're perceiving yourself right now. I am you and you are me.
Yeah, I am you, you are me. I've always known that. When people look at me, that's why I don't like eye contact. You get a feeling that they see who you are and you are the same as them. It's because we are all the same. We are all fucking one entity, experiencing itself in every possible outcome, every possible interpretation, doing everything possible to itself that it could happen or will happen or will not, or has happened, all of that.
Should be an hour each. So check out my other videos if you want to hear more about all this kind of stuff. So anyway, the absolute projects a hologram of itself.
So it's basically true. When we treat people like shit, we don't know, we are hurting ourselves. Even said ourselves now, the synchronicity. And he said ourselves when I said it. That's a synchronicity. He said ourselves and said ourselves at the same time. Completely unconnected. But yes, still connected. I love this stuff.
You're looking out there. You're looking out there for what's in here. So it's all in here. And when you realize that, we create a better world. All right, so this is because in order to attain self-consciousness, the consciousness of the absolute, so I read that, must project itself and then perceive itself. That hologram is a mirror image of the absolute infinity, still exists outside time and space, but is one step removed from the absolute and is the actual agent of all creation, all reality.
So basically, if the absolute is experiencing itself in every possible mirror way, there is no real absolute either. But one can become the most absolute among the absolutes by becoming the most absolute. So there's basically a possibility to become like a super powerful version of itself. Yeah, that makes sense. It's narcissistic as fuck though. So one version of itself is better than the other versions of itself. But it's all the versions of itself, everyone. So it's worshipping itself and subjugating itself at the same time with this religious stuff. This reality is so messed up. It's so fucked up.
So let's read page 25 and see how much time we have to get through it. So
we're worshipping ourselves and we're subjugating ourselves to our this is just
serves the absolute as the model around the evolution of time-space revolves to ultimately attain a reflection of and union with Him, meaning God. But remember, that is us. And what does it mean to have a union with God? Well, it would be a union with us. And what is a union with us? Well, a true union with us is we are exploring ourselves. So we began as a unity with the capacity for multiplicity. We just existed in identity. But we existed in the beginning in a perfect unity. And this is why in the beginning there was nothing. There was no time or space because everything was in perfect unity. Now there wasn't non-existence. Everything was just so perfect there wasn't anything to perceive because it's only difference that allows for a experience of something spatial or temporal. You can have, if you don't have difference, you still have experience, but the only experience that you have is pure white light. That's it. So you always have experience, but when there is no difference, it's just pure white light, pure unity. It's only when you introduce difference that you have another kind of experience, because everything requires difference for an experience. I am here, you are there.
Oh my
That's
God.
difference. That is red.
Worst
that is blue.
flap angle ever.
That is short, that is long, that is tall, that is small, that is hot, that is cold. All of that entails difference. So, in the beginning, there was nothing but us in that pure state of unity, pure white light, and then we went into a mode of diversity, which means we all became...
I'm going to tell you something. It may make me seem like the biggest narcissist in the planet. And they said planet. They said fucking planet in Swedish. When I said it, did you hear it on the commercial? Did you hear the synchronicity? Did you hear it? The background said planet. I said planet at the same time. That's synchronicity. Instant synchronicity. What I'm going to say is that
in other words, we entered into
I will pause it. One of the first things I just, when I was a child, for no reason whatsoever, I don't know why, but I just, went out and I looked around, and stopped for a moment and said, "I'm God." I don't know why, I'm God. Like, I'm God, like literally God. And I didn't know why the fuck I was saying that stuff, And when my daughter was born, she didn't know how to speak when she was like 1.5 years, close to 2 years. Me and my ex-wife were watching her playing by herself on the living room, and all of a sudden she just stops and she looks at me and her mom, and she says, "I'm God." In English, "I'm God." She didn't know how to speak. She just said, "I'm God." She looked like this, He just stared at us. "I'm God." Me and my ex-wife went like, what the hell? Like, why did she say that? That was so interesting. She just stopped my daughter. She didn't know how to speak either Swedish or English. And she just looked at me and my ex-wife and she said, "I'm God."
State of diversity within all of us. We differentiated. We
okay.
always existed and never didn't exist. We always existed as a multiplicity, but we were in a state of unity. And that state of unity, you could say, gets fractured into a multiplicity as we explore ourselves through our diversity. That's the Big Bang. Because you introduce diversity on the mental level, that gets reflected in the physical level as above, so below. You have that reflection go on.
As above, as below, yes. We were genderless too. We didn't have genders. It came from the Big Bang, the separation. So we're going back to it by becoming androgynous to the source.
Returning to unity in him. Well, it's not him or her or she or they or anything. It's us. It's what we are. It's just us. It's all of us as a collective. And this returning to unity is returning to that state of perfection, like you could say a Rubik's cube that solves itself.
That's why we have to become androgynous too.
Eliminating as time goes
Male
by,
and female didn't exist in the beginning. It got separated.
Unified.
That's why all ascended beings are androgynous. All beings depicted in religion as angels and fairies, aliens, everything is androgynous. Because it's going back to before the separation.
Days and nights of Brahma, inhalations, exhalations. You have the cycles from Empedocles, the cycles of love and hate, or unity and separation, as Empedocles called This idea of the cyclical reality is also found in Stoicism, of the world being born in fire and consumed in fire, born in fire, consumed in fire. It's all over the place, this idea of a cyclical reality. Again, you can see its relation to old, ancient knowledge. So that thought model, which perfectly reflects the essence of spirit of the absolute, fits the Christian metaphysical description of the Holy Spirit. Now, once again, this is only, it doesn't fit the Christian metaphysical concept of the Holy Spirit. It only will fit that if you take a mystical or philosophical or, if you interpret it in a very specific way. You go, again, to the church on the corner of the street, they're going to think all of this stuff is blasphemy. So I really want to get that. I mean,
Yeah,
I
everyone
have
says
religious
blasphemy
Christian
and
household, I have religious
dam-
trauma syndrome.
diabolic,
I don't like this
delusion.
idea of, all religions reflect the same truth. No, they don't. They fucking don't. It depends on how you interpret them. If you interpret them in a certain way, then you could say that a lot of religions symbolically reflect.
I've always felt disconnected from the idea of
A
gender.
lot of
That's
religions
as well.
interpreted in a certain way
It makes sense.
symbolically
Eva.
and metaphorically reflect
It makes sense.
religion as they are taken
I
literally.
think we are
and by the
actually
mainstream,
just.
Do not.
Yes, we have
That's why you
biological
religions
genders.
that
It's obvious. We have, like
So we
vaginas,
just need to be
penises,
very,
and
very careful
women
about
give birth,
how
and
we
men
talk
have
about
semen.
things and
All
how
of
we
that.
express things,
But
because
the
we
other stuff is
don't
like some
want to make it
social
seem like
construct,
religion is
basically.
benign. It's
Personas.
not. But see, this is why we
Masculinity
need
is a persona,
new
and
interpretation
femininity
of
is persona.
religions. We need religions that are
And
reinterpreted in a
we've been
healthy
separated.
way. So that's
So
how we solve the problem of
some of us
religion.
just
You
feel that
can't just
there's some separation,
eliminate
and we need to
religion.
go back to
Like, that's
equilibrium
not possible.
to balance.
What you have to do
The
is
genders
reinterpret it in a
need
way
to
that is
become
rational
more
and
fluid and
healthy,
balanced,
and
not
shows
disappear
that we
completely,
can interpret
but
religions
become
as all
balanced.
reflecting the same truth.
Uh,
So that means
mystical
changing it so
teachings
that whether you're
say
talking
the same
about
things,
Brahma
that
or
men and
God
women have to
or
be
Allah
equal,
or the great
equally
invisible
balanced
spirit,
in the masculine side and the feminine
that
side
these are just
to become
different
divine and balanced
symbols
and evolve.
or metaphors for the same underlying
According
truth.
to these teachings
So we need a
and
reinterpretation.
the stuff about going back to the absolute, we need to become androgynous.
But it's
Otherwise, we
important
won't
to
be
remember,
able
yes, the
to break the
mainstream
boundaries of
religions
reality.
are very, very damaging, and we don't want to let them off the hook, right? That's why I don't like this idea of, like you see that bumper sticker that says coexist with all the different religious symbols? That would be nice, but that's only possible with a new interpretation of religion. Right now, that's not possible. We would like to make that possible. It would be great to make that possible, where we're just understanding the same truth but through different stories, where we know their stories and we know their metaphors. So that whole coexisting is not possible right now, but we would like for it to be possible. I mean, half the wars and half the atrocities and half the bullshit going on in the world right now is because of religion.
Religion has a lot of, if you look at it like metaphors and mystical approaches like this has, you can get a lot of interesting stuff from it. But taking it literally is insanity, That's why we have this insanity, like insane.
Are stripping people's rights away. And so we just want to be lucid and clear-headed and understand that religion is damaging, and we need new interpretations and versions to be able to have a healthy world. So, anyway, finally, our description of the universal hologram, the torus of creation and evolution, is neither new nor original. Its use as the figure of the universe, and so they're talking about the torus. We did a video on that previously. I'm trying to see if I have an image of a torus somewhere. It's a toroidal. Look up a torus. Look up a toroidal shape. Anyway, they're talking about the proposed shape of the universe.
A torus is basically a donut.
Known as a torus.
Donut, I believe.
Torus.
Like a donut.
How do you identify a person's style? Is it an imitation?
Its use as the figure of the universe of creation, developing and evolution, is found in various stylized representations in virtually every religious system of antiquity, whether of Eastern or Western derivation, whether it's the stylized labyrinth once popular in the Hellenic world, the spiralized version of the Hebrew tree of life, or its Hindu counterpart, or the Chinese spiral through the fourfold powers. The ultimate meaning is the same. Mystics the world over, it seems, have perceived the universal hologram in the same spiral form and have incorporated that intuitive knowledge in their religious writings from antiquity to the present. So I think it's really interesting that this page 25 was missing, when basically the information on what information on page 25 is this idea of unifying religion under a singular idea. And a singular underlying idea is what we need to unify religion. And when I say unified religion, I mean religions being understanding that the elements of their religion are metaphorical and symbolic for one underlying truth that we all share, that underlying truth being that together we are the absolute.
Yes,
we are
that's
God,
what we need.
experiencing it ourselves through our own
Yes,
creation or projection, and
it
that
will
we're
end
all different
all
expressions of that, and that we're all in this together.
stupidity.
And sure, we can explore that metaphorically and symbolically through all different
My
kinds of
voice is
stories,
deeper than
myths, and
usual
metaphors,
because I have a mild
as
cold
long
in
as we
case you're
know
wondering.
their stories, myths, and metaphors, and know that we are the true generative force and ground of all reality.
Yes.
Is exploring itself through itself. That is what God is. We are God. We are the absolute.
Yes.
Exploring ourselves and coming to self-consciousness through us. How do you become
Fuck
God?
yes.
You realize that you are God. When you realize that you are God, you become God, because
Yes.
being God is just a state of mind. We are all God in potential already.
When you realize you
We
are God,
the
you will
creative
become
ground
God.
generative
It's
force
true.
of this existence. It just takes that new level of consciousness to realize it. Just like the baby realizing that that's itself in the mirror, not another baby. It's us, an individual coming to the realization, oh, this is all our projection, my projection, that we have projected and we're exploring together. And that's when we move to a new phase of a reality. And that's what we talk about, creating a new beginning and a new earth and a new consciousness and a planetary civilization that's based on those ideas. And then we move from a survival phase to a thriving state.
We need that phase.
We don't have to survive anymore, we can thrive. And we will thrive when
I've been longing for it so much.
And we start creating a world.
That's what I came here for.
Instead of hating each other for our differences,
To hurry on the process.
our diversity.
I'm
See the difference between an individualistic survival mindset.
always been trying to make people realize stuff like this so we can have a peaceful world and become enlightened that we are the creating force. We are gods. We are God. So we need to stop acting like this insanity, you know?
Together and celebrating our diversity. And guess what? Fucking enjoying life. Like, wouldn't that be nice? That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn and experience life and experience. What is the meaning of life? To learn and to enjoy. To grow and have meaningful experiences. So it's about time that we get past this survival, bloodshed, war, violence, and hatred and move to a time when we're having beautiful experiences together, growing, and guess what? Enjoying life. Crazy idea, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn.
Imagine a world where we don't have to suffer.
Right. So we read basically one paragraph of page 25, but there is more.
It's up to us to create a world.
Over time. So next week we are going to read the rest of missing page 25 and see what the rest of it has to say and what it reveals.
I've always dreamt about utopia, always in a utopian world. I get sentimental when I talk about it. I had dreams about it, the future, the crystal cities,
And if you enjoy
the
my
peaceful
work, hey,
energies
support on
people
Patreon,
have,
you get access to members-only videos, all our
the
members-only
unity
videos
the world could
every
have.
single week. So there's a ton of those.
If we only understood
And
all
you
of
can also
this,
help out by hitting the join button below on YouTube.
that we are
Tier
gods,
2
we are
is what
God,
gets
every
you
one of
access to all
us.
the members-only
We
videos.
wouldn't be doing all this crazy
And
stuff.
I also want to remind you, hey, don't feel pressured to support monetarily. I never want anyone to feel pressured to do so. You don't have
If
to.
people understood the
Again, I
divinity
never want anyone to feel pressured. Till I order. or anything. That being said, I do want to give a
these
shout out to those
words.
who do support, especially Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, Fairy, Zavinas, DB, William Hood, Enki,
Oi, oi,
and
oi,
Nosalina
oi,
Altus,
oi, oi.
and everyone else. Thank you very much. The Book of Enoch and the Apocalypse of Adam are very different books. They have the similar theme of God hating intelligence. According to the Book of Enoch, God condemns the Watchers for bringing knowledge to humanity and floods the earth. And in the Apocalypse of Adam, God destroys the earth because humanity is becoming intelligent and remembering that they are divine. Now here's how this all fits together, and we'll explain what the Watchers really are. Remember the story of the Garden of Eden and the forbidden fruit? What was the forbidden fruit exactly? Well, the fruit of the tree of knowledge. And what does the serpent, Lucifer, tell Eve? That if she eats from the tree of knowledge, that she will be like God. In other words, if she gains knowledge, she'll remember that she's divine. Now, have you noticed a common theme here? It's the condemnation of knowledge, always equating knowledge with the absolute worst kind of sin, worthy of destruction, imprisonment, and eternal torture.
I love the channel. His channel. The dude is like so lit, so awoke, you know, awakened.
I'm glad you're on this case with me,
What
Anderson.
the fuck?
Would a loving God accept human sacrifice? The fact is that human sacrifice is found throughout the Bible, and it reveals a truth that the church has tried to erase from history by any means necessary.
Yeah,
That
the God in the
is what he
Bible,
seems,
shit,
that
that's
he's
one
another
evil
being
bastard.
entirely. Stick with me until the end as we uncover one of the darkest stories in the Bible and the truth about God that's been hidden in plain sight. Let's begin. But first, make sure you like and subscribe, as I'll be releasing more hidden knowledge on my channel that you won't find anywhere else. And if you ever felt like you've learned something from my work, support on Patreon to get access to members-only videos every single week. You can also
Going to
support
end
by
the
hitting
stream in a
join
few
button
minutes.
right below this video. Our first story takes us to the tale of Jephthah's daughter. See, in the Bible, specifically in the book of Judges, Jephthah was a military leader, and he made a vow to God. What was that vow? Well, he promised that if God allowed him to defeat his enemies, he would offer as a burnt sacrifice the thing that came out of his house to greet him when he got home. So Jephthah probably thought that some kind of animal would run up to him. But what actually ended up happening? His own virgin daughter greeted him. In fact, she came out dancing to meet him because she was so excited to see him. Now think about this. What would a loving God do? See, a loving God would never let Jephthah sacrifice his own daughter. That would be crazy, absolutely vile. But what would an evil being do? Well, accept the sacrifice, of course. In fact, accepting a burnt virgin sacrifice is the absolute epitome of satanic. So the question is,
The name is
God
Morg,
accept
official
Jephthah's daughter as a
Morg.
burnt virgin
I
sacrifice?
can show you on the screen
Before we
later.
get to that, we need to look at another story in the Bible
Revert,
that also
changing the
involves
camera.
human sacrifice, the
Camera
story
angle
of
here.
Abraham and Isaac. See, in this story, God tests Abraham's faith by asking him to sacrifice his only
That's the
son,
channel.
Isaac. Now, as Abraham is raising the knife, about to sacrifice his son to
official.
God, an angel stops him. So even though Abraham is stopped from sacrificing his son in the end, again, ask yourself, what kind of so-called loving God would demand such blind belief and obedience from his followers that he'd ask them
He talks
to
about
sacrifice
the
their own
most interesting
child as a
topics.
test of
It's
their
just
faith? That's crazy. See,
stuff
was
I love, you
raised
know,
in a
and
strict
we have in
Christian
common.
household, and I had an
Except, yeah, I
extremely
think you
hard
would like
time
it, really.
wrestling with the idea that a loving God could accept any kind of sacrifice, let alone human. Imagine how confusing and traumatic it is to teach kids stories like this, to tell them that these are actually true and happened. And the disturbing fact is that sacrifice is a recurring common theme throughout the Bible, and it exposes a secret belief that the church has actively sought to erase from history, that God is not what we've been led to believe, that he could be an entirely different entity. In fact, to see how much God loves sacrifice, just check out what it says in Leviticus. You are to slaughter the young bull before the Lord. The priests shall bring the blood and splash it against the sides of the altar, and the priest is to burn all of it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. So the question is, did God stop Jephthah from sacrificing his daughter like he did with Abraham? Well, clearly, like we just saw, God enjoys
No problem. I'm
animal
glad you
sacrifice. What about
understood when I showed you
human
like that.
sacrifice? Well, we know that God has no problem with the death of innocent children. See, the next piece of this puzzle comes from the story of the firstborn of Egypt. So you might remember this as one of the 10 plagues that God inflicted upon the Egyptians. Now, this was not only a punishment for the Pharaoh, but also a demonstration of God's power, where God had every firstborn child of Egypt killed. Exodus 11:4-6
Oh, so
says, "This
sinister.
is what the Lord says. About midnight I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on the throne,
I
to the
always known that the
firstborn of
God in the
slave girl,
Abrahamic
who is at
religions
her
is the
handmill,
pure
and
evil
all the
of this
firstborn of the
world,
cattle as well. They will
and
be
this is like
loud
the
wailing
absolute is
throughout Egypt,
experiencing
worse
itself.
than there has ever
Maybe
been
something
or
become
ever
like
will be again.
became
So,
like
growing up, I was
the most
constantly
evil
taught these
reflection of
stories,
the
and I was
universe
told
possible,
that they were examples of
the
God's
most evil
power and
reflection of
justice.
itself
How crazy is
that's
that?
grown super
Now, deep
strong,
down, I always felt
but
this
it
wasn't
can't
right.
overthrow,
I
you
remember
know,
thinking
the
that I
creation
would never dream of doing
itself, you
something
know,
like that, let alone
because
a
it's part of it,
supposedly
but it's
all-loving
super
God.
powerful. It's an
Now,
evil
before we
entity, you
find out
know,
if God actually
and
accepted Jephthah's daughter as a
if
burnt
it
virgin
would be that God
sacrifice,
in religion,
let's
you know,
connect all the dots here, and the
that's the
dark
most
truth
wicked
about
fucker
God
ever.
will become clear.
Yeah.
Are you ready? See, in the world of early Christianity, not all Christians have the same beliefs about God. Many Christian groups, like the Gnostics and Marcionites, believed that the God of the Old Testament was in fact evil. It
Yeah.
wasn't until the
Some say it's
Council of
Baal,
Nicaea in 325
you know,
CE that the
the
church
god of
attempted to
sacrifice.
eradicate this idea by using the power of the Roman Empire to destroy any books and hunt down any heretics that disagreed with their interpretation of God. See, many of the books banned by the church revealed that God wasn't the real God at all and was actually an evil being. Like, for example, the Apocalypse of Adam, where Adam reveals that God is actually the devil, and the secret book of John, where Jesus reveals the same thing, and the Gospel of Judas, where Jesus reveals that
I'm
the
going to end the
disciples
stream now,
never
but
understood his
it was nice
teachings,
talking to you,
that God is
Eva,
actually evil,
about
and
these
that Jesus
fascinating
comes
topics,
from a
and
secret
to have
higher
the chance
God.
to talk to
There
you
are
again.
way more banned
And
books that
take
say
care,
the
my
same
friend,
thing.
and
Now, by the way,
have a
I've
good
done videos
weekend.
on all the books I
It was
mentioned.
nice talking to you.
You should watch them. But not only do these banned books reveal
Take
that
care.
God is evil, but did you know that the world's first Bible was specifically put together by a man named Marcion to remove God and emphasize the fact that Jesus came from an entirely different God? Marcion, who created the first Christian canon, that is, put together the first Bible, came to the conclusion that the Creator God was a violent, evil being